Thanks for tuning into the 6-3 podcast. I'm your host, Joel, and my co-host, Ben. Do it for the shoe. I am back from Indianapolis. What a game. They beat the Chiefs.
That was crazy.
Was it? I mean, and then literally as I'm walking out of the tunnel of Lucas Oil to go outside, I'm watching the Lions game on my phone just choke away the game against the Vikings. We'll definitely be talking about that. We'll talk about the battle that Maryland actually put up against Michigan. To be determined if Maryland's actually a top 5 team in the Big Ten, or did Michigan just have a lackluster game? We'll find out. But let's start out with this 2003 MLB ReDraft, and I have the luxury of going first in a class that I'm not super stoked about, but so be it. My first pick will be Adam Jones. He'll be my center fielder. He played from 2006 to 2019. He had a 277 average, 282 homers, 950 RBIs, 100 stolen bases, over 1,900 hits, 5 All-Star games, 4 Gold Gloves, a Silver Slugger, and over a 32.5 WAR.
All right, I'll go with Ian Kinsler. 54.1 WAR. One shy of 2,000 hits, 257 homers, hit 269, was a 4-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glover, mostly with Texas, had a couple good years with Detroit as well. Played till he was 37, so he played 14 years. Overall, really good second baseman with some pop. He was kind of one of the few, at least early on, second baseman that would hit the ball out of the ballpark. Texas, I feel like, had a team full of guys that could hit homers for a while there. Pretty good RBI guy for a second baseman as well, and he did steal 243 bases as well. So overall, a really good all-around baseball player.
Tiger.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was one of 3 or 4 players that I kind of went back and forth on as being my number 1. So that's a good pick. I will take a right fielder here, Nick Markakis. 2006 to 2020 he played. He had a 288 average, just shy of 200 home runs, over 1,045 RBIs, 66 stolen bases, 2,400 career hits. And that's a lot of hits for a player that only got 1 All-Star game. But when he played in that window, those corner outfielder spots were stacked. So at an All-Star game, he had 3 Gold Gloves, he had a Silver Slugger, and a almost 34 WAR.
I'll take Andre Ethier. 21.5 WAR, 1 a Gold Glove, 1 a Silver Slugger, just under 1,400 hits, hit 285, 162 homers. Was overall pretty solid for 12 years. I think I remember multiple times when he went on like 30-plus game hit streaks when he was really rolling there.
Mm-hmm.
Had some pop, nothing crazy, but he did hit 31 homers in 2009. Mostly he would hover around in the high teens, low 20s, but overall pretty good there, and a pretty good outfielder. So overall a solid player.
I'll just finish my outfield out, and I'll go with Matt Kemp.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy about that outfield. But 2006 to 2020, he played the exact same years that Nick Markakis did in the league.
He did.
At 284, 287 homers, 1,031 RBIs, 184 stolen bases, over 1,800 hits. He had 3 All-Star games, 2 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers, and a 21.5 WAR.
All right. I'll take hard-hitting Carlos Quentin. 10.5 WAR.
You can't leave home without a White Sox. That's a White Sox. That's
10.5 WAR. Hit 154 homers, 252 batting average, 2-time All-Star, 1 a Silver Slugger. He was great in 08 and 2011. 08 he probably would have won the MVP if he didn't get hurt. He only played 130 games, and he got hurt at the end of the year and was rolling. Like 36 homers, had 100 RBIs that year. He ended up 5th in the MVP voting that year. Only played 9 years, did have some injury problems, but was overall a really good hitter for a stretch there. So
like he wasn't super quick in the outfield. I remember he had a cannon for an
good arm, really good arm.
Yeah, I remember watching him
right fielder.
Left field out to third. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's got a big arm. Not fast at all, but that's all right. I'll put him in right field.
All right. Does that mean Ethier is going left field?
Yep.
All right, my next pick here. Okay. Give me Aaron Hill.
Okay.
And I'm probably not going to put him at second. I know it was the one he played probably 70% of his games were at second, but thinking third. 2005 2017, he played 266 average, 162 homers, 700 RBIs, 75 stolen bases, over 1,500 hits. An all-star game, 2 silver sluggers, and a 24.5 WAR.
Okay. Just checking one thing here. Give me Michael Bourne to play center field.
Yeah, well, that's a speedy center fielder, man.
Yeah, he's very fast. 22.8 WAR. Hit just under 1,300 hits, only 36 homers. So he
was actually on my list of low
was
power
on your
rating.
list. He has no pop, but that's fine. That's not why I picked him.
2.8% of his hits were home runs.
266 average, pretty good average hitter. He had 341 stolen bases. He twice was over 60. Actually, for 3-year stretch in a row, he led the league in stolen bases in 09, 2010, and 2011. He had 61, 52, and then 61 again. So definitely a stolen base threat and an average guy. Probably my leadoff hitter.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You picked him at 8, and I had him ranked at 8 in my.
Yeah, that's probably where I'd put him. I mean, in this class, maybe. I mean, depends on what you value, I guess, a little bit, but.
Yeah, I mean, you and I are kind of similar. I'm not going to build a roster around pitching. I think we want to target the position players.
Well, it's just to me, if there is a pitcher that's like, man, this guy's just gonna dominate. Like, if there's a Hall of Fame guy there, then yeah, I'm probably gonna take him early.
We haven't taken I'm trying to find the earliest we've taken a pitcher, and we have not taken a pitcher, at least in the top 4 in any class. Let me see if. Okay, so 5 looks like in 1994 we took Johan Santana.
I remember I took Santana at 5.
Yeah, and then
I think that was more a product of the rest of that class from a position player standpoint.
Yeah, the next player to go after that was Placido Polanco and Przinsky, so it's a little bit of a fall off.
Right. Yep, and you know, like I said, because we're sitting here drafting this as not like a. If I was drafting these teams for like a 162 game season,
yeah,
I would draft them 1,000% different than I'd be drafting for a
one game.
Yeah. Right?
That's fair. I know that would be interesting to think about.
Because I would be picking it. I would definitely be picking pitchers sooner.
I think the reason I did it this way though was like when I was first making all these lists, I was finding that most of these classes only had like maybe 40 guys that were like worth writing home about. And so it's like, I don't think we can fill a 25, 26 man roster with this right now.
Nope.
So.
Nope. No, one game, some relievers, starter, maybe a couple starters, and then a decent sized bench with the starting 9. So I get it. Yep.
I guess speaking of that, I will take the first pitcher here. I'll take Jonathan Papelbon. Pitched from 2005 to 2016, 41-36 with a 2.44 ERA, over 800 strikeouts, almost 370 saves, in almost 700 games. He had 3 games he started, 6 All-Star games, and a 23.5 WAR.
Yep. Smile baseball. Let me check on something real quick. That is butt. That is butt. Man. It's like John Jaso at first base.
My man.
I just need to find a way to. I don't know. That's.
Have a competent first baseman. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So 10.9 WAR, only 55 homers, hit 258. Only played 9 years. That was part of why his stats weren't great. Was a platoon guy for the most part, both at catcher and he played some first base. Pinch hit a lot. Overall, a solid player. Just didn't play very long and was never really going to break into as a starter. Wasn't that kind of guy.
Oh, no. I'll take another guy that landed on my list that I made earlier today. Put him at shortstop. I'll take Alcides Escobar.
Yep.
258 hitter.
Still around.
With only 45 home runs, 500 RBIs, 180 stolen bases, 1,500 hits, an all-star game, a gold glove, and a 10 WAR.
Okay, I'll take Brendan Ryan. I'll put him at short. 233 hitter, only 19 homers. He no pop at all.
15, I think he was on my list too.
Yeah, he probably was. 15.1 WAR. Was an excellent defender. Really, really good defender, especially with Seattle and St. Louis. He can also play third and second. Good average guy early in his career and just kind of really fell off, and he was more of a platoon guy late in his career. Dealt with a lot of injuries. But overall not bad. Had a little bit of speed early in his career too, and just a good defender. So we'll take him there.
All right. I will take my second baseman. I'll take Ricky Weeks. So yeah, played second base or left field, but from 2003 to 2017, just shy of a 250 average, 161 homers, 475 RBIs, an all-star game at an 11.5 WAR, and 1,087 hits and 132 stolen bases.
Okay. Just comparing two people here. Give me a second. Give me Carlos Carrasco.
My best, next best pitcher. So.
Yeah. 22.3 WAR. He is still in the league. He's been very good this year, actually. 104 and 84 in his career, a 3.85 ERA. This year he's 15-6 with a 3.76 ERA, or 3.79 ERA, I should say. He's on a good Mets team this year. Overall, really been a really solid starter when healthy. He dealt with some injury stuff when he was still with Cleveland, but led the league in wins with 18 in 2017. And in 2018, he came right back with 17 more wins. That was kind of his prime there. And he's having a great kind of a bounce back after some down years this year. So overall, really good starter when healthy and still doing it. So
it's a good one. All right. I think I'm going to take another bullpen guy. Give me Chad Cordero. Let me pull up those numbers real quick. From 2003 to 2010, so only 8 years in the league. He was 20-15, but a 2.89 ERA, 300 strikeouts, 130 saves. He had an all-star game and a 7.5 WAR.
all right, I'll take my catcher. I'm going to take AJ Ellis. 9.4 WAR, hit 239, only 44 homers, 466 hits, played 11 years, a lot of times as a platoon guy, was a starter there from 2012 to 2013. Solid backup catcher for the most part, but he's going to be my starting catcher for now. So I didn't want to
it's a loaded backup catcher class. So
Salter Machia, Cervelli, a lot of guys that it's like, I know who those guys are. They just weren't that good.
Yep. Oh, man. All right. I like Tyler Clippard, so I'm going to take Tyler Clippard here. Just going to load my team up with bullpen arms. 2007 to 2022. So yes, still active. 56 and 48 with a 3.15 ERA, 952 strikeouts in 807 games, 75 saves. Started 14 games. He has 2 All-Star games and a 16 WAR.
All right, I'll take Brian Wilson. 24 and 25, 3.3 ERA, 5.6 WAR, 3-time All-Star, won a World Series in 2010.
Do his signature.
Yeah, he's a kind of his signature. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a weird looking beard too. But
that's what I'm working on personally.
Was probably one of the better closers in the league for 4 years there, from 08 to 2011. Those were his 3 All-Star games came in that stretch. In 08, he saved 41 games. In 09, he had 38 saves. 2010, he was an All-Star. He had a 1.81 ERA and led the league with 48 saves. 2011, he had 36 more. So majority of his saves came in those 4 years, but it was really, really good for the Giants there for a stretch. So, yeah, he'll be my closer.
I'm going to take another bullpen arm who broke an MLB record, and that would be Brad Ziegler.
Yeah.
From 2008 to 2018, he went 37 and 38 with a 2.75 ERA. Just shy of 500 strikeouts. He had 105 saves and 740 games pitched and a 13.5 WAR. His record was most consecutive scoreless innings to start an MLB career with 23.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, the previous mark was 22 innings by Dave Ferris in 1945. So it had been a while.
Pretty good. All right, I'll take Jason Motte. He's a Michigander. He's from Port Huron, so that's cool. 5 WAR, 27 and 15, a 3.3 ERA. Won the 2011 World Series with St. Louis. A very hard thrower. Had 60 saves in his career. He had 42 in 2012, and that's pretty much his time as a closer. But overall, was a really good reliever for a 9-year stretch there. Dealt with some injuries late in his career, but was solid when healthy.
Ooh. Think I will take. Yeah, I think he's the next best starter available, and it's like I said. I think Carrasco for sure was the best one, and then after that, it's like you can go back and forth on 2 guys. Personally, I'm think I'm going to lean towards the lefty John Danks.
John Danks is a big game pitcher, though. I will give you that.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers don't look great on paper, but I feel like every time I watched John Danks pitch against the Tigers, it was like dude was going to go 6 innings and maybe give up 1 or 2 runs or less every time.
Yep, he pitched in the 2011. I'm sorry, 2011 game 163, or 20 whatever year that was. Hold on, I can figure this out. I think it was 08 actually, and it was against the Twins in 2008. It was the AL Central tiebreaker game, and the White Sox won 1-0. And John Danks pitched. I think he went 7. And Jim Thome hit a home run, and then Ken Griffey Jr. threw a guy out at the plate in the 8th inning or something like that. But the reason I remember it is because it's like, all right, John Danks is pitching, and John Danks had a great year that year. But we were like, all right, like we're giving up a few runs, but he was locked down. I mean, maybe his best start ever. He was crazy good.
Saying is that in our imaginary 163rd game that we're doing
he's
here,
not a bad guy to start.
All right, good.
He's got
and
some
it's a
onions.
lefty arm. I like a good lefty arm.
Yeah, he's got some onions. He was good. And I remember that game because it was a blackout. Everybody wore black, and it looked really cool. All right. I don't know. These third basemen do not make me feel happy. I mean, give me like Mike Aviles, and I'll put him at third.
Attaboy. Former Tiger too, I think.
Yeah.
I think he played a year or 2 there.
Yep. He wasn't great though. He's pretty bad, in fact. 5.7 WAR,
Wasn't Pete Cosma bad though?
No. 60 home runs, hit 261. Was a decent defender for a while. Yeah, he did play with Detroit for a year late in his career. 16. Three different teams, bounced around as far as, you know, what position. His rookie year, he was really good. He hit 325. But after that, he never really found that again. In limited action. But yeah, never could really figure it all out, but overall a decent player.
This is the other guy I was kind of going back and forth with between Danks, and it sounds like Danks got the clutch vote for you. So Chad Billingsley is my next guy. Pitched from 2006 to 2015 with an 83-64 record, a 3.72 ERA with over 1,050 strikeouts. Pitched in 226 games, 197 of them started, with an all-star game and nearly a 17.5 WAR.
Oh man. Need a lefty. Well, Johnny Venters.
It's a good arm.
3.8 WAR, 2.71 ERA, 20-13 in his career. Just did not last very long. Only pitched 5 full seasons. Bounced around a little bit to some different teams. Pretty sure he just basically blew his arm out eventually. But because he pitched in 85 games in 2011, which led the league. But just was really good almost his entire career. Other than like a few stints where his ERA blew up with a couple different teams. But it wasn't even the full season type thing.
I think he went to 2019, right?
What's that?
Pitched till I think like 2019.
Yeah, that was his worst ERA. It was 5.4.
That's how I knew when to hang it up, right? I mean,
yeah. But his last, other than that, it was never worse than 3.8.
A 2.7 ERA is a very good bullpen ERA for a career.
His first 2 years in the league, it was below 2. So overall, he's a really good reliever, left-handed guy. He only gave up 13 home runs in his entire career. That's pretty good.
Wow, that is not a stat I would have looked at, but that's a nice stat to have. It's going to make the team earn it with small ball, basically. So, all right. I think my next guy is going to be a DH. I'm going to take Delmon Young to be my DH. 2006 to 2015 he played, also a former Tiger. 283 batting average is pretty solid. 109 homers, 566 RBIs, 36 stolen bases, over 1,160 hits with a very bad WAR in that span. Only about a 3.5 WAR. So, not ideal.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go with Jair Jurgens.
Tiger, baby.
Yeah, for a little bit there. 10
was a horrible trade, though. I'm pretty sure it was like Jair Jurgens for Edgar Renteria. I think it was.
Jair had a couple good years with Atlanta for sure after the fact, but 10.4 WAR, 53-38, 3.72 ERA. Another guy that just didn't last in the league very long. Was an All-Star in 2011. He was 13-6 that year with a 2.96 ERA. Overall, really good. Another guy that kept the ball in the ballpark for the most part. Didn't give up a whole lot of home runs. Had some really good years with Atlanta there. Just kind of dealt with injuries again and just couldn't hack it after falling off with Atlanta after 2012. So, but overall, pretty good arm there when healthy. He's only 36 now. So
wow.
Yeah. He broke into the league at age 21. So.
Yeah, I remember he was supposed to be the next star there with Eddie Bonine.
Yeah, that didn't work out for either of them.
No, Eddie Bonine had a knuckleball too. Just disappointing. Oh man.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, that was just a weird year because we had Andrew Miller too as a young pitcher. Jacob Turner was supposed to be a young pitcher. I'm pretty sure we had Chad Durbin. So
yeah,
good times.
guys had guys that stuck around a little bit with some other teams for sure. But
Yeah, Duran had some good years with the Phillies there too, and Miller played a while too. So, Jacob Turner did not make it, but
no.
David Murphy I will take next as my reserve outfielder, pinch hitter. 2006 to 2015, he played with a 274 average, 104 homers, 475 RBIs with 55 stolen bases, 950 hits with a 9.9 WAR.
All right. Give me man, it was horrendous for a minute there. Let's give me Sam Fold as a backup outfielder. Hit 227, played for a lot of different teams. 5.1 WAR, pretty much a platoon outfielder for his entire career. Had some decent years with Tampa Bay there in the middle, where he was a good guy off the bench for them. Good outfielder, just could never really crack a starting lineup for too long. But overall, a pretty decent player. Just didn't really rack up any huge stats because he was platooning and, good outfielder, but was just definitely a backup guy.
Just because I have him as the next best player available on my list here, which starting to say not a whole lot because we're getting pretty low on this list, but pinch runner. I'm going to take Drew Stubbs.
There you go.
Very niche center field, but played 2009 to 2017 with a 242 average, 92 homers, 283 RBIs, but he had over 160 stolen bases, nearly 700 hits, and an 8 WAR.
Yep. Give me Matt Harrison. 8.9 WAR. He was 50 and 35, 4.2 ERA. He was an All-Star in 2012. He was 18 and 11 with Texas. He had some good years there with Texas. It was 14-9 in 2011 as well. Good arm. I remember when he was coming up there, it was like, okay, this guy could be really good. Texas made him a reliever there for a stretch as well, but he just never really found it or could stay healthy after 2012 for the most part. So good arm, just kind of fizzled out there after 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so I think you only need one more pitcher, and then you're all set. I'm going to take my catcher here. And I'll take the guy whose name looks like a rainbow from the back, Gerard Saltalamacchia.
Yeah.
2007 to 2018, I think he was a main starting catcher for maybe 2 of those years.
Yep.
232 average, 110 homers, so that's not too shabby. 381 RBIs, whopping 5 stolen bases, over 660 hits, and a 6 WAR.
Okay. Give me Kevin Kuzminoff, I guess.
7.6 WAR, 650 hits, 87 home runs, 257 batting average. Played 7 years. He actually was pretty decent there for a stretch, especially off as a utility guy. But he started for the Padres there for a while. Padres weren't great at that point, but 18 home runs in 2007, 23 in 08, 18 again in 09, 16 in 2010. So was a decent player there for a while, and then just kind of fizzled out again. You're seeing that a lot with some of these guys. I think it's more a talent thing than necessarily. Some of them definitely got injured, but I think it's more of a talent thing. They were just mostly platoon guys or backup guys for sure. Nothing wrong with that. You can make a great living doing that. So
yeah, I mean, ask Chase Daniel.
Yeah. He's the poster child for not really doing that much and getting paid a lot.
And making a ton of money. Man.
Footboard guy getting paid a lot.
Sheesh, would love that cush job. No concussions for all that money. Good.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take my last pitcher here. Take Shin-Ming Wong.
Okay.
174 games pitched, 126 of them were started. 68 and 34 is a really good winning percentage. Obviously, he played on dominant Yankees teams for most of that, so that helped. He did collect a save. He had a 4.36 ERA. Not a strikeout pitcher at all. His K through 9 was always pretty near the bottom. I think he was sub 400 career strikeouts in 174 games. It's not good. And then a 12.5 WAR. Like I think we talked about it before the show, 2006 and 2007. If I get that Shin-Ming Wong, that's good. But there's a reason he fell. As far as his comeback years weren't always so great. So.
Yep. All right, give me Scott Feldman.
Mm-hmm.
Pitched 13 years, both as a starter and a reliever.
I think he pitched with Matt Harrison, so you're just bringing some teammates back.
Did for a little bit, yep. Both as a starter and as a reliever. He was 17 and 8 in 2009. That was probably his best year overall. Although his ERA was a little inflated. 4.43 ERA overall, 7.9 WAR, 78 and 84. Don't love the record, but I mean, especially as a guy that bounced back and forth between a reliever and a starter, it's not terrible. Overall, had some really good years in the kind of late middle of his career where he was a reliever. His ERA was right around 3.5. So, yeah, some good seasons there as both a starter and reliever. So, some versatility there as well. So we'll go with him. Didn't walk very many guys, which is nice to see.
Well, that does. I think that's all the pitchers. Then that means the next best player I have available is ranked at 32, and this is pick 36. So we're actually not that far off.
No.
My next player was Sean Markham, but we are filled up on pitchers. I will take my reserve catcher here and take Francisco Cervelli.
Yep.
268 hitter, 41 homers with 275 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, over 600 hits, and a 14 WAR.
I'm not going to take a backup catcher because I technically have one in John Jaso already.
You technically do. You are correct.
I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, load up on 2 more reserve hitters then.
Yeah, maybe I should just because this team is.
I mean, who's the next backup catcher that I have even listed is ranked all the way down to, holy moly. Was it Carlos Corporan is pretty much the next, is that the only other one that's left? And I have him ranked 62 out of 64.
That's not good. It's bad, in fact. I'll take Ian Stewart.
That's a power hitter right there.
Yeah, he had a little bit of pop. 3.3 WAR, 341 hits, 61 homers. Only played 7 years, but he had 25 homers in 2009, 18 in 2010. He's definitely a platoon guy, and who knows, it could have been elevated, the numbers, because he was in Colorado, but not a great player, but you know what, we'll take him there because there's not many great players left on this list at all. Actually, there's 0 great players. I can say that definitively.
Yeah, well, technically I didn't fill in your DH, so you still have 2 more hitters you could get.
Yeah.
You can decide between Stewart, Folder, Kuzminoff if you want there, but I have those guys as your reserve players for now.
Right now, Kuzminoff's the DH.
Okay, all right.
Right now. We'll see if that changes. I'm not finding any diamonds in the rough here, though, I don't think. Years have gone. We're not,
I haven't even found my first baseman yet, and you just took Ian. Oh, no, Ian Stewart didn't play first. Okay, that's fine.
No.
All right, then I might just take another former Tiger here. Hang on. I got to see if this guy played first. Hang on.
Casey McGee.
He sure did. Yeah, I was thinking Casey McGee for a second. I'm going to take a guy that actually has even more variety in his game. I'll take Sean Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Played outfield, second and first from 2008 to 2020. 226 batting average is not great, but 81 homers and 300 RBIs, 42 stolen bases, nearly 600 hits, and a 9 WAR.
Okay. Man. If I take Tony Gwynn Jr., can I have his father in his prime?
His father will be in the stands cheering from on if the team morale helps.
Well, but Tony Gwynn's dead, so Really.
In spirit, it's like Field of Dreams.
Yeah, I mean, man. All right, I mean, I will take Tony Gwynn Jr. Why not? He was on your list too.
Sure was.
5.1 WAR, 381 hits, only 7 homers, no pop at all. He was a little guy though; he wasn't very big. 238 average. Was a good outfielder. Had some speed. Stole 80 bags in 8 years, so not terrible.
As a backup, that's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't playing very often, so that's not bad. So we'll take him.
Let's see. One more player. I think I got. Yep. One more. I think my next hitter is. Where is he? All right. I will take. My next hitter available is Eric Young Jr.
Yep.
So outfielder, second baseman. 2009 to 2018, he played with a 245 average. Only 13 home runs and 422 hits, so also a low rate. 162 stolen bases, though. Very similar player, I felt like, to Tony Gwynn Jr., to be honest. Both juniors to other professional players, and just speedy guys that weren't big, had not a lot of pop, and surprisingly low WARs. So,
well, he didn't play very long either. Give me Casey McGee.
I felt like he was going to be good. His first 2 years in the league, I was like, hey, he's not too shabby.
He had some. I mean, he had a stretch there. He had an 0.7 WAR. He was not a good defender. That was part of it. 67 home runs, 258 batting average. Only played 8 years. He had 16 home runs in 09, 23 in 2010. That was probably his best season. Played a lot that year. But mostly fizzled out. He only had 4 home runs in 160 games in 2014. Yeah, just, I mean, and that was one of probably his best average year. He hit 287 that year for Miami. So I don't know.
Wasn't great. Had some decent seasons there with Milwaukee and a couple with Miami, but overall not a great player. But we'll take
Horrendous with the Tigers.
Yeah, what? Yeah, really bad.
Yeah. He didn't last very long in that.
No, he only played 60 games or 30 games with them that year, and then it was over.
All right, so to close it out, that's like I said, the next best player available was Sean Markham at 32 on my list. I had Sean Marshall next at 34. David Artsma, Paul Mayholm, Scott Baker, Tom Gorzolani, Eric O'Flaherty. All were in the top 40 on my list.
I thought about taking Sean Marshall. I didn't mind him.
He was a lefty too, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he had some decent years with the Cubs, but no.
So you'd be surprised. The next best position player, though, I had ranked at 45, and that was Derek Barton. I have Derek Barton.
No, it's Derek Barton.
Yeah, I mean,
Village was bad.
Ryan Garco, Connor Jackson, Nate Shearholtz,
Yep.
Ryan Sweeney, Lastings Millage. And then Josh Anderson was I think Josh Anderson was either the leadoff or the number 9 hitter on one of the opening days for the Tigers. That was, I think, the year we went to Anthony Gose. Anthony Gose was
some tough times.
Yeah, so that was actually when we had a pretty good lineup. Josh Anderson was just the scrub. I mean, Anthony Gose and him kind of went back and forth that year.
But Anthony Gose became a pitcher.
Yeah, he could throw 100 too.
He threw very hard, but yeah.
And then my last 3 players were Carlos Corcoran, Reggie Willits, and Xavier Paul. I had last.
Xavier Paul, I looked up his stats because I was like, I don't really remember his stats.
You like that negative 1.1?
There's a reason that I don't remember his stats. He was not good.
Yeah. I mean, 173 career hits and a negative 1.1 WAR.
I mean, okay. So what did you said he had 173 career hits?
Yeah. So that was a 250 batting average. He had no pop.
Played 6 seasons. You know how hard that is, and he started for like 4 of them.
That's really hard to do.
A negative 1.1 WAR. So yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. Yeah, I know. I'm like, why did I even look up Xavier Paul? I know I was trying to fill these rosters, make sure we had enough.
That tells you how bad the class was overall. Beyond. So
yeah. I usually try to make sure I fill up the pool as best as I can. So sometimes I have to go digging, but Because there's even guys in this league that played less than Xavier Paul did, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to put you in, but